you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
Welcome everybody, it is Bulldog here, and are we finally in the midst of a gaming bull market? Is it finally a bull run? It's kind of felt like that for the last few months, and whether we're actually in one or not, this hope has brought out all of these creators creating their top gaming token list, talking about which gaming tokens can you invest in to make life-changing gains, those 100x tokens. And not once have I seen anybody include Splinterlands SPS token on their list. And I'm not really surprised. If we look at the SPS token over the last year, let's go take a look at it. It's not exactly a chart that you look at and gives you a lot of confidence. Here's the all-time chart right here. A lot of people look at this and say, this is a dead token. This is wrecked. I see SPS categorized in the bottom rating for a lot of tokens. And I think it's because people just look at the chart. They look at maybe some of these stats on the left-hand side, but they don't actually know the Splinterlands economy. And as someone who has been in this Splinterlands economy since SPS release, since the beginning of this chart, I look at the SPS price, I look at what's actually going on, and I could not be more excited. I personally have not been buying a lot of SPS. We come over here, SPS, I've got 2.5K in SPS, which I'm sure to a lot of you sounds like a ton, but that's less than, that's under 2% of my Splinterlands portfolio. And that's kind of unusual to have that little percent in the actual token itself, because I've talked about how the Splinterlands token is going to bleed until we get to a certain point. And we are finally at that certain point. So I am going to tell you guys why, or this is going to be an educational video about why I like the Splinterlands token and all of the potential to really get huge gains. I'm not actually projecting 100x SPS gains. I'm not making any price projections at all. Predicting what the market's going to do is still crazy. Yes, it looks like we're in a bull market. I feel like the macro economy is still kind of crappy though. So who really knows what happens? But I'm going to tell you about the reasons to get excited for the SPS token, and hopefully some of those other people creating those lists might even be able to look at this and kind of learn a little bit about SPS and why those of us on the inside are so excited right now. So in order to really understand this, we need to go through the SPS token, what it is, kind of its main utility, and why it's been crappy up until this point. Okay, so there's really four main utilities for SPS. And the first one is simple governance. It is the governance token. And you see here, we're on proposal 52. SPS has more the SPS DAO has more power than I think any other DAO in gaming right now. I'm not even sure it's close. And I'm going to use a very extreme example here. I don't actually think this is going to happen. I would bet everything that it won't happen. But just to kind of demonstrate how much power the DAO has. If the SPS holders decided they were unhappy with Splinterlands and they wanted to fire the team, they could literally vote to remove the SPS token from Splinterlands and go put it in another game or have another game developed, hire different game devs and put it in their game and essentially fire the Splinterlands company. They could do that. Is there another gaming DAO out there that could do that today? Splinterlands could do that today. Anybody can go put up a vote, you can vote on it, and they actually have that power. Again, that's not going to happen, but I just want to show an extreme example of how Splinterlands is really paving the way into decentralization. And that really has nothing to do with the future price that we're talking about, but I couldn't talk about the utility for SPS and not talk about how SPS, the Splinterlands DAO, is really pushing the envelope in gaming and doing things that nobody else is really doing. But anyways, number two is you need staked SPS in order to earn your rewards, which is more SPS or earn reward cards in the game. If we come over here, we see this boost here, 8.07. That's based on the amount of SPS I have staked. The more SPS I have staked, the more I can earn. If I unstake some of mine, my earnings go down. I don't get as much SPS. I don't get as many cards. It's needed for utility in the game. Pretty straightforward, right? But we didn't have that for the longest time. When we look at things on this scale of a couple years, it's actually fairly recent. And the trend we're going to see here is that a lot of the reason that the SPS token has not been doing very well is because we didn't have all the economy pieces in place. It had a cool setup, even for the very beginning, it had a cool setup, but a lot of things broke. Some things weren't designed to scale. Had to spend a lot of time fixing things, and we're just now finally kind of getting the pieces of the puzzle all put together. And that was a utility that wasn't here for the longest time, but it is now finally here. The third one that we're going to spend most of this video talking about is what's called the flywheel. In order to mint more DEC, you have to burn either cards, which is typically not very efficient. You can usually sell them for more than you can burn them for, or you can burn SPS to get DEC. So Splinterlands has a 2-token economy, and it's designed so that DEC is the stable token, the stable coin. And the purpose of that is so that you can conduct your daily transactions and use the marketplace and everything, knowing that there's a relatively stable price there. And it adjusts all of the volatility, all of the potential price swings get moved over to the SPS token. So DEC is naturally deflationary, okay? There's market burn fees just from daily participation in the secondary market. Buying things in the game can require burns. The DEC on its own, without burning SPS, is deflationary. So the price is set to go down. When the price gets, the supply is set to go down, so the price goes up. If the price gets too high, we can create more DEC by burning that SPS. So if we have a huge sale like we just did, and we need more DEC, you have to go burn that SPS token. The SPS token has a max supply, 3 billion max supply. So by burning it, we reduce that max supply, reduce the supply, increases the value of the SPS token instead of the DEC value increasing. So if we go over here to DEC, we'll see that right here's this chart for DEC supply. You can see how it's naturally been decreasing, and then we had this big spike. Why did we have this big spike? Well, this whole flywheel thing didn't work. It wasn't used because the DEC price was too low. And it was too low because during this crazy bull run, before we had the SPS rewards that I mentioned on the last utility, we minted DEC for rewards. And it wasn't set to scale, so we ended up minting way too much DEC for rewards. We minted a crap ton. And that essentially became debt. Because we minted so much, we didn't need any more DEC. We had too much supply, so there was no need to burn SPS. So we spent the last year, 2 years burning through all of that debt. And that was what I mentioned earlier, is that I said the SPS price is going to bleed until we burn through all of this SPS debt. Because when we have something we burned over $1 million worth of DEC, but those burns weren't actually going to any value anywhere to providing any value in the economy other than just paying that debt. Now when we burn DEC, we have to replace that DEC because we need it. So now you have to go burn that SPS, and burning that SPS helps the SPS price. So that is what we saw over here. We finally hit this point with this last rebellion sale where we needed more DEC. The DEC supply went up because we burned SPS. And then what did that do to the SPS price? Let's go here to a smaller scale. It jumped 20%. Now, whenever we have these DEC burns, it can transfer that value into SPS. And that is a huge piece that was missing over the last few years that is now basically here. And it's kind of crazy. So as long as there's value coming into the game, we're going to be burning SPS. And we know there's value coming in the game because despite Splinterlands being 5 years old, for the pre-sale for the 5th set, we sold nearly 500,000 packs. They're $4 a pack. We went through nearly $2 million worth of sales in the pre-sale. And that finally kind of got us to that flywheel towards the end of that sale. Now just imagine if we were at the flywheel from the very beginning. If you had to burn $2 million worth of SPS in order to create that DEC? Well, you can see up here, we've got 450 million liquid SPS. You've got about $7.5 million worth of SPS that's liquid. A little over that. You say $8 million worth of SPS, that would be liquid, and you needed to burn $2 million worth. That's 25% of the supply. What are you going to do to the price if you have to burn 25% of the supply? Now, obviously, as the price goes up, you need to burn fewer SPS, so you wouldn't actually need to burn 25% of the supply, but that's the point though, right? The price goes up, we burn through all of that. This is why we are excited about the potential for SPS price. And I say, what if, just in 5 days, land is being released? If we come back here to the supply, we have 4.8 billion DEC. The Dow owns almost a quarter of that. The Splinterlands team owns a bunch. There's a bunch tied up in bridges. There's a bunch tied up in liquidity pools. There's a bunch tied up just in daily market operations. If land is used to its full potential, in order to use land, you have to you have to burn burn DEC to activate the land, and then stake DEC on it to use the land. If land is used at 100%, it requires about 7.5 billion DEC. We would probably have to mint about 5 billion DEC, $5 million worth of DEC to fully use land. I shouldn't say burn because that's a stake, right? Well, most of that is being staked. So you're staking it to land, but you still need to produce that DEC so it's there to be staked. You saw what happened just at the end, needing to burn that SPS. What happens if we have to burn or have to mint twice that much? We are going to see that the game needs a lot more DEC, and we're gonna have to burn that SPS. And it's not just land. Land's going to introduce new mechanics. Where you can burn DEC to get things like grain. You need more DEC for some extra liquidity pools there. The game continues to add things and grow. We've got whole new games for the economy. We've got Soulkeep, which is a tower defense game that will eventually be coming. We thought it was almost here, and then they essentially paused it to finish Land and Rebellion. But once these are done, they can go back to that. The game's nearly done. That's a whole new DEC sink. The more that's being spent on DEC, the more you have to burn SPS. We're seeing SPS burnt a lot more of. The inflation rate is reducing. We come over here, 1% per month. The reward pool decreases at 1% per month. So we're burning more SPS. The inflation rate is decreasing. SPS has a ton of potential here. And then the fourth utility is just passive earnings. You can see right here, staked. I'm earning 14.49% from staking SPS. One of the sources of that APR is vouchers. You get vouchers for staking SPS, which is a way to get discounts on sales. For a lot of games, it'll be like, okay, if you're holding the token, you might get a discount or you might get whitelisted or whatever the case is. You get these benefits in these sales. Well, Splinterlands didn't like how it was basically a snapshot, and the value would go up around the snapshot and then go back down. So they created so there's vouchers that are constantly being produced. And that reflects your staked SPS over time. And then you can use that towards the sale. So for example, the Rebellion sale, the packs were actually $5, but you could give them for $4 with vouchers. And then if you didn't want that benefit, you could sell the voucher to somebody else. So there's these vouchers, there's this value in vouchers, but vouchers have mostly been ignored. When they first came out, the price was $20 for a voucher. Now it's 3 cents. Because the focus has been so much on fixing DEC and cutting that DEC supply down. When DEC is not at or near peg, the entire economy is broken. It doesn't work. And we've seen that with the price. When the voucher price is low, it doesn't have any impact on the economy. It's nice when it's higher because that gives you more value for SPS, right? If you're staking SPS to get these vouchers and the vouchers are worth more, well, if we can get that voucher price back up, the APR will go up for staking SPS, which gives more value to SPS, creates more demand, and gives more incentive to stake the SPS and take it off the market. So that when we then need to burn it, there's less out there. It raises the price more. But now that DEC, now that they've spent all this effort on DEC and got it down, they can turn it over. They can turn some of that focus to vouchers. Matt said on the last town hall, Matt's the co-founder of Splinterlands, said that he wants vouchers to be rare again, and they're not to be enough. During the Rebellion pre-sale, there were plenty of vouchers. The voucher price went up a little bit, but overall, anybody who, if you were buying, you went and got vouchers off the market because it was cheaper. It was well worth the discount. He wants it to be so when they have a sale, not everybody gets that discount because there's literally not enough vouchers out there to use. They're valuable. The people staking SPS want to hold on to them. And that's going to be so much easier to give value to those than it was to eat through all that DEC debt. Talked about how we had to burn over $1 million worth of DEC to get through that. All of the, at the current price, all of the vouchers in circulation, 100% of them, is worth about 300K. It's going to be so much easier to burn through the excess vouchers that we have than it was to burn through the excess DEC. This is child's play now. So if they turn their focus to that, even just a little bit, half focus to that, they can burn through those quickly. Land is adding some utility for vouchers. Land is supposed to have a utility for vouchers. The war wagons that are from Rebellion are supposed to have utility for vouchers so that we know there's more coming. Increasing that value, increasing the value of SPS. This is why we're excited. Decreasing inflation rate, increasing utility for SPS, burning a lot more SPS. What's it going to do to the price? It's obviously going to help the price. Now, maybe I'm exaggerating things, and maybe it's not that we go up a bunch. Maybe it's just enough to help slow the trend. Maybe we don't reverse the bleeding. Maybe it just slows the bleeding. I don't know. But the good thing is that, as I said at the beginning, I look at the price of SPS and I get excited about it because the lower the SPS price, not only it's good to buy in low, right? The lower the SPS price, the more we have to burn to fund the same amount of DEC. The lower the price, the more we burn, and then that supply is gone forever. So in the end, it might actually be great that the SPS price crashed because now that, obviously, I don't like that it crashed. Those of us who have been in the economy don't like it crashed. But for anybody getting in from the outside, that could be so good because the price gets lower and now we have to burn so much more SPS in order to mint that DEC, and as we're climbing kind of out of that SPS hole, we're burning a lot more of it, and that reduces the permanent supply. I mean, things. I don't want to guarantee that I'm not saying we're going to the moon, but I'm saying there's a rocket there. There's potential. We'll see. I couldn't be more excited about SPS. I am finally going to start acquiring SPS now. It's finally going to start making up a higher percent of my Splinterlands portfolio. My entire plan was, I was holding on to because we were burning through all that DEC. My entire plan, which I made very public, 6 months ago, a year ago, was I was loading up on DEC because I knew it was going to PEG. And then as soon as DEC got near PEG, I was switching over to SPS and going to ride that SPS rocket. And then I saw the chance to get Darth Squirrel in the game, and I spent like 30K on packs in order to get Darth Squirrel in the game. So I made an emotional play. I don't have as much SPS right now as I wish I did, because I wish I'd switched it over to SPS. But I'm gonna slowly start kind of selling off some of those packs. I'll sell off a lot of that value now that we've finished top 6 and can get Darth Squirrel. I'll transition some of that back over to SPS, and you're gonna see my SPS pool growing. I'm excited about it. Let me know what you guys think. What concerns do you have for SPS moving forward? How high do you think we can go? I can't wait to see the comments on this video. If you're into SPS, share this with people. Help people get educated on this economic system, because I can't believe we haven't seen people copy it. I think we just haven't seen people copy it because it hasn't, all the puzzle pieces haven't been there. We haven't really seen it work. Once we see it work, Splinterlands is doing things that no other Web3 game is doing here. We see all these blockchain games, they're not Web3 games, they're Web 2.5 games. Everybody's kind of gotten scared of that play to earn. Splinterlands is pushing the Web3 boundaries. And I think once they really get things together and start taking off, people are going to see this. And people are going to realize, oh crap, this can work. If you do it right and get all the pieces in place, this can work. And it's going to turn some heads. And I'm going to be on board for it. Are you? Let me know. Make sure you guys go follow me on Twitch. We're going to have a lot of fun. Rebellion comes out 12/5. We're going to be doing tons of streams. A lot of those will be over on Twitch, so make sure you go follow me on Twitch. We're going to do some huge pack openings since I have a lot of those cards. Pack opening, playing the market with some of those cards that we've got. We're going to have a lot of fun. I hope to see you guys over there. See you on the battlefield.